how long have we known each other?
A little over 20.
All right. Here. They make me use this one.
Thanks, Steve. About 20 years.
20 years. Okay. Yeah. That's a hard time at as Goldsmith neighbor.
For me, yes.
Yes, for you. Yeah. So Delroy I moved in down the street from Delroy. Delroy, I don't know how many years, but
actually moved in next to my parents first.
Oh right, yes, Olga and Jay.
Jay.
And then he bought the home from them not long after. And you guys have a friend that just doesn't want to hear about Jesus? Anyone has got a friend? Okay, just 3. Because you'd know more if you try to talk about Jesus. But this is the point of this series. But as you kind of engage, there's some that are like, hey, just no, okay? That was my Delroy friend, and as my neighbor, you have to respect that line. But we got together, we did stuff, we had fun. But Delroy, how long you been attending Coastal?
Since 2012, 2013.
Right. That's a long time.
Yeah, do the math, 12 years?
Yeah. 12, 13 years. So you want to talk about that first time you came to church?
Yeah, I can do that.
Lead up to it, maybe?
Yeah, I can lead up to it. Moved in next door to Seth. I really had...
Don't tell anything crazy now. Okay?
No.
All right.
I've always had faith, but with having faith, not knowing what to do with it, if you will. So I've always gone to church. The separation for me came with not knowing, one, what not to do with my faith, and the other part was I got a little jaded. I didn't use that word last time. Jaded to the religious aspect of it. So you go to church every Sunday, and then I'm an observer. You observe people Monday through Sunday, and they're like totally different people. So what they were saying in church was not meshing up to what was actually happening in their lives. I don't like being in an environment where you're constantly being beat down, which is the biggest thing I came to understand as my faith grew, is that God, Christ, comes from a position of love. Typically, you'll hear what I was hearing, I'll speak for myself, was you're no good, you're not this, you're that, Satan's going to get you, you're going to go to hell. It was all the damnation aspect of it, but very little was spoken about how God cares and loves for us, even at our lowest points, which is what reconnected me back because, again, living next to Seth, I had mango trees in my yard.
Is that your lowest point, living next to Seth?
No. I could literally throw
bottom.
mangoes into his yard. That's how close we live with his neighbors. But I got an opportunity to watch him and his family. I knew what he did for one of his vocations because he had another job besides being a preacher. And at that time, I was a research and development chef, but I'd come home and we'd interact, but I got to see how he conducted himself. So his words actually mirrored the way he lived. I watched how days that were not going so good, how he would manage that.
When you're a neighbor, you get to see the pastor yell at his children sometimes.
So I got an opportunity to learn healthy stuff connected to a faith that I detached myself from the religious aspect of it from. So,
did they show the fish picture yet? We got to put the fish picture up. So we were still connecting fairly frequently. This is a little after, but anytime, I'm just kind of putting this out there. If you invite Delroy to dinner, he just said he's a chef. He will take over, and it's a good thing. But not very many people in our house like fish, and so I mean, Delroy, you want to come over? And I knew what was going to happen. He was going to kick me out and then start cooking.
Clean up the grill.
Yeah, it's like, how to do this? No. You just go ahead and stand over there, put your hands in your pockets. But we just kind of connected over time. Delroy, you didn't really want to come to church 20 years ago when we first met.
No, a couple of things started to occur in my life. a lot of it is just I mismanaged my life to a large degree, but I suffered with mental health issues, which then led me to self-medicate, which, being my own doctor, you figure if one's good, two's got to be better. So you just, basically your life starts to spiral out of control. But most of it stemmed from the mental health aspect, just thinking I'm the only one suffering from this, nobody else understands, yada, yada. I'm an only child, so I didn't have another sibling I could kind of run to and kind of, parents, despite their best efforts, sometimes they just don't see the full picture. But as a result, my life was spiraling out of control quickly. I was watching everything slip away. Work, as a result of the addiction issues, legal issues are always close by, and they surfaced in a major way. What I didn't tell the first group was, because I told them I had a warrant out for me, but the warrant was connected to DUI issues. The state of Florida loves to get their pound of flesh, but however, they wanted 2 pounds of flesh in this issue without telling me about it. But the spiraling of my life, truly, when you get to a low point, there's another thing I didn't share with the other group. So I had
we went over last time, so be careful.
Yeah, no. I had a friend, a coworker.
I hear stomach.
Many years before, got married and invited me to their wedding, and it was up in North Carolina. But her husband-to-be worked actually for a Christian radio station, and he had, as part of the gift, they handed out these little booklets. It's a well-known radio pastor. I can't remember his name right now. But as my life had gotten so low, and I tend to hang on to things, I don't know why, but this is another way to show how God works in many interesting ways, even though we don't necessarily see him. I held on to this booklet, and as my life was spiraling, all I had was this little book, and I started reading it. Just because there's nothing else for me to do. I couldn't work, and didn't really, I was in pretty bad shape. But I would read that in my own way. I didn't fully understand still what I was reading. But as a couple of years ago, I read something that says, even though you might read a Bible verse over several times, it says, don't worry about it. Just keep reading, because each time you would read it, there'd be a different message that would come to you. Literally, there's a different message that comes to you. But that's pretty much the start of my life being on the bottom. Seth being next door, what I did share with the other group is one of the many things I've come to love this man and his family is whenever I was in trouble, one particular instance, I made a phone call and said, hey, Seth, my lawyer just called me. They've got a warrant out for me. I need...
Like 2 weeks after you started coming to church, too.
I think, I kind of started, but I wasn't really coming. I said, I need to get to the jailhouse to take care of this right away. He said, and most of the time when I call him, he doesn't say, no, we can't do this. He just says, let me see what I can do, and he figures out a way to be there to help me. He says, well, I can take care of this for you, but I'm going to drop you off, and I'm going over to see my parents, because they live down in Vero. He says, on the way back, I'll pick you up from the jailhouse. So what it allowed me the opportunity was to take care of that business, because the very next day, I got a knock on my door, and I open the door and look out, there's a sheriff officer standing there. It's like, hey, you so-and-so, I got a warrant for it. Again, this is how God is working. Because if I had not taken care of that the day before, it would have been a whole different process when it comes to the legal system. Instead of being in a couple of hours, I would have probably been there 2-3 days trying to figure this out. But nonetheless, again, our relationship is founded on many different things, but this is one of the things that whenever I've needed help, which in turn, I've offered that back to other people. So a healthy relationship.
All right, Delroy, you were at rock bottom, living next to me, but what was it that changed and made you decide, hey, I think I'd like to give God a chance? You came over and you said, let's go to church tomorrow together. How'd that go?
The low point in my life stemmed from that. And again, I've always had faith. I just didn't know what to do with it. But the opportunity to basically leave what I thought was a safe space was my home in my head. The opportunity to go to church and that was a safer arena for me to go. So every Sunday, I had no excuses. Just get in his car, head over to church, and I would get involved in different things there.
Now, let me tell my side, because he comes to me Saturday night, and, we have permission that we said what we can say, and I don't think there's anything that...
No.
Just don't tell him how crazy your neighbor was. So, but he comes to me Saturday night, and he's not in a good place. And he says, I want to go to church with you tomorrow. You ever have anybody tell you they're going to go to church with you sometime? I mean, we wouldn't have enough seats here, okay, people? So I didn't really believe him. And of course, we're meeting at the middle school back then, which meant setup. And I'm like, man, if you're riding with me, you're going to have to be up early. And it doesn't look like you're in a condition, to get up early. And so we had to leave at 7:15 to be there at 7:30. And there's Delroy at 7 o'clock in the morning, ready to go to church. And I'm like, what on earth? So you want to talk about what you told me when you got in the car?
Yeah, I was going to say, being on time is not a typical Jamaican trait. So I'm the opposite, which drives me crazy being a Jamaican.
Marilyn, don't let him talk about
Jamaicans
you like
are late everywhere they go. But I think I kind of alluded to it earlier when I said about organized religion can sometimes suppress you in a certain manner. So the thing for me, I told him, was like, look, you're not going to convert me. I didn't want to be pressured into feeling like I had to accept something or to do something just because I'm going to church. I just wanted to just be in the moment. I wouldn't say by myself, but without feeling pressured, because sometimes you can be pressured into doing things without understanding why you're doing them. So that was the basis. So
this is like just to paint the picture.
Was this the red car? This was the red car.
This is the red car, yeah, the Kia,
the Kia.
full of church crap, Just barely enough room for the children in the back. Now we got one more kid, and Delroy gets in, and I didn't start the conversation. I didn't say, "Let me tell you about Jesus." I didn't do that. I didn't slip into preacher voice or anything. He just gets in the car quietly and starts telling me, "Don't push me. Don't even think about talking about
I won't come back."
Yeah, and he said, "I will never come back again." That's what he said. You're right. And so I'm like, okay. All right, but you kept coming back. Even he was helping with setup, and then somewhere along the way, he comes to me. A few years later, he's sending me Bible verses, by the way. Okay, like a year or two in, he's sending me Bible verses. I'm like, something must be changing. So I circle back, and I'm like, hey, you want to talk about? Are you ready? No, I'm not ready. He said, just same place I was. And I'm like, okay, I'll get back again. About 6 years later.
Yeah, that's about right.
He says, now this guy's been coming to set up every Sunday, and he's the one that we used to use this at the middle school. We'd have to carry this stupid thing out there, okay? Can't fill it up in the middle school. That's against their policies. So we carry it out there, we fill it up. So he was a big part of helping me with that. And he says, when's the next baptism? Well, he's thinking, when are we going to have to lug the stupid baptismal again, the horse trough back out there? And he says, no, I want to be baptized. So what happened in those 6 years?
A couple of things. Again, Coastal was a safe place for me, safe space. The biggest thing I got to see was others and how they were managing their life through an honest relationship with God and Christ. Developed some friendships. Also saw opportunity because one of my three loves, art, music, and food. And I got in there and there was a band playing, and I grew up playing or loving, I still do, punk and heavy metal. So right away I was like, okay, there's a band here. There's an opportunity. And another thing that was, which I left out of the last service, I was born with an eye disease that they found out while I was in the military. So I got kicked out of the Army for that. But When my life was spiraling out of control, someone had sucker punched me and actually blew out one of the corneal transplants that I had. So my vision is gone in my left eye, but you know when they tell you lose a sense, something else kicks? Well, my hearing kicked in, and I started hearing music totally different, and I decided to make the investment in it, because I'm pretty much self-taught at the age of 12. But my hearing, I started hearing things that I didn't hear before. And then coming to church with the band there, and I'm like, there's an opportunity here. And so I ended up getting that opportunity to join the band. But the biggest thing is my relationship, my understanding of the word is healthy, is positive. My life had made a turn from the opposite direction. It was badly going in a major way. There's another piece to show you how bad it was going. One particular day, God's hand at work, He allowed me to make the phone call I needed to call the right person, because I had a loaded gun. I was ready to just end it all. And this man spoke to me. It was a former boss. I hadn't spoken to him in years, but him talking to me just kind of got me off that ladder for that little bit. But so the journey is based on just a healthy relationship. Now, for me, I was already baptized when I was younger, and then I was slightly raised in the Roman Catholic faith, a little bit. But in my reading and understanding, for me, for baptism, was me making a public profession to my fellow worshipers to say, hey, here's where I'm at currently in my life, and I'm not embarrassed, afraid, scared to admit it and show it, even on the days that I'm not doing so good. But Christ and God is definitely the center point, and that's why I made that choice. I watched many people go up, and again, like I said to Seth earlier, or to the group earlier, for me, I'd probably do it every day, just that cleansing aspect of it. But that was the major decision I made. So
it's been awesome to see that transformation, but there was another aspect I want to tell you about, and that's my grandmother, Grandma Margaret.
Yep, forgot about that.
So Grandma Margaret, my dad's mom, she knew Delroy, where Delroy was at, and she, by the way, he never told her to stop talking about Jesus, okay? So sometimes it's just not you, it's someone else.
No, she had hugs for me all the time.
Yeah. So she'd ask me, she had this notebook, and she had people in there that she would pray for every single day to come to Jesus. And she had Delroy in there for all those 6 years, praying for him every day. My grandma was obnoxious. Did Delroy receive Christ yet? Did Delroy turn his life over to Christ? I'm like, Grandma, leave me alone. I was about as annoyed as Delroy was, like, please, just let it. And when he told me about wanting to get baptized and giving his life over to Jesus, man, Grandma was one of the first people I called to be like, hey, thank you for praying for my friend. I look at all these people back here on this list, like 140 people on these tags of people we're praying for to come to Jesus. And it'll be an amazing moment when the people you pray for receive Christ and make a decision to follow him and get baptized and walk out of here ready to change their life and be transformed.
Yeah, she, I think it was a week following or 2 weeks later, she wrote a little note for me on a card. And I have a habit of collecting things that are very meaningful for me in my life, and that's one of the notes I still have. It's jammed in a Bible that I have at home of her, because she's no longer with us, unfortunately. She passed away, but yeah, that meant a lot, because every week I'd see her when she would come, and she had this big old smile on her face to see me.
So you never know, like her prayers, her rescue mission outlived her. And because Delroy's still growing. He's still, by the way, I'm still growing. But all right, one last question. Two. So you're involved in the band, and I got one other question, and that's, would you ever consider moving back to Fellsmere?
No.
Okay. All right. All right, give it up for Delroy. Thank you so much.